Hello, this is Jason Hendler, and I wanted to create a short video on how to at least start the stool assembly for the assignment due this week. I wanted to just put together the first few pieces so that you get an understanding of how to put all of it together. So anyway, I'm going to put together the first few assemblies, one of each at least, so that you understand how it goes together. So what you're going to have to do is I recommend you download all of these files to a new folder. And when you download all these solid part files, I want you to open them up. So I'll show you what I mean there. So you're going to start out and you're just going to open each one of these. And so you'll see you'll have the dowel piece open first. And when it opens up, it'll come up into memory. And this is SolidWorks 2015, and so it's going to point out that this is an older version file, but and it will be converted when it's saved, so no big deal, that's what we want. So there's our dowel. So you shrink that down, you see it's going to be down here in the left hand corner. Then we're going to go and open, and now we're going to open the leg, and going to view that. And again, shrink that, so now you see both of these are down there. And you're going to open. Now we're going to open the seat support. And we have that. And again, we're going to shrink that down into the corner, so all three of those are open. And then finally, we're going to open the seat itself. And so there's the seat. And so now we have all four files open. And the reason I do this is it's going to make importing or putting the parts into the assembly much easier. So let's go and do a new, and we're going to do an assembly. And because I have those four things open, look how it lists them here. These are the open documents: dowel, leg, seat, seat support. So without having to browse and do all that other stuff, it's nice to have these four items right here. Okay, so it's asking me here, go ahead and select a component to insert. So the first one we want to start with is the seat. And notice when I come over here, it has the seat floating around. But what I want you to do is don't click here. Just come all the way over here and hit the check mark, and it's going to put it in exactly the right spot relative to the origin, just as the seat was created. So if you do that, that puts in the first one, and there's no mating to do, there's nothing to do, it's located exactly where it ought to be. So that's the way we want to do that. And so if we look in this assembly and rotate it, there's all the little holes in the bottom. And into those holes we want to put dowel pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert Component, and I want to put in a dowel. And so I'm going to move this little dowel close to a hole and just set it there for the moment. Then I'm going to zoom in to that area, and now I can see it very close. So you have the part in there, but it's not mated up to the seat. The seat is rock solid, it's where it's supposed to be. But now it's the dowel that kind of floats around, so I can sit there and drag it all over the place, and for it to find a home it has to get mated in there. So I'm going to mate, and the first thing I want to do is a concentric mate, and I'm going to select this cylindrical surface, and it already selected the other cylindrical surface because that's what I had grabbed before. And what you must do for every one of these dowels is hit lock rotation and then hit check. And the nice thing is that puts it in there, but it isn't located inside the hole where it needs to be. So that's just one mate that we need. I'm going to go ahead and change this view to wireframe so that it's easier to see. And now what I'm going to do is a coincident mate, and I'm going to mate this edge with this edge, and now it is in. And notice what it says down here, it says fully defined. If it doesn't say fully defined, then you probably haven't locked rotation. So what I'm going to do next, I hit check because that's fully mated, and now I want to insert another component, and I want to insert another dowel. So I click dowel, and there's a little dowel that shows up, and I just drop it anywhere. And then I'm going to mate. Again, I'm going to mate concentric. I'm going to grab this surface, and I'm going to grab that surface, and boom, they're aligned. And again, lock rotation. Check. And again, it still floats like so. And now I need to do a coincident mate on this edge and this edge at the bottom of the hole. And now that goes in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in a few more, or a couple more dowel pins. Insert component, dowel, place, and I'm going to mate. It's going to be a concentric mate. That surface and that surface. Lock rotation, check. It still slides, that's okay, because now we're going to do a coincident mate on that edge and that edge. And now it's where it ought to be. And again, you see fully defined, so that's good news. Insert component, dowel, drag it over there. I'm going to zoom in a little better. And I'm going to mate. I'm going to mate this surface to that surface. And I'm going to lock rotation, check. And I'm going to do a coincident mate there to there. And now it's in the bottom of the hole. Okay, so now that I've got those 4 pieces in, I'm going to go ahead and add my seat supports. So I'm going to insert component, I'm going to add a seat support. Oops. And so again, this kind of floats all over the place. I'm just going to drop it there. You notice when you rotate it around, it's like, okay, I'm going to move this out over here a little bit. And that way I can see it. So now I'm going to mate it. Stop. And I'm going to mate. I'm going to do a coincident mate. I'm going to mate this top surface. Let me zoom in. That top surface and bottom surface of the seat. Check. And so now, you know, this can move all over the place, but at least it's in plane. And the next couple of mates I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the holes with the dowel pins. So I'm going to grab that hole there, and then I'm going to flip this up, and I'm going to grab that dowel pin there. And check. I could lock rotation, but I don't want to do that. What I want to show you is, you know, right now it's constrained around that one dowel, but until it's constrained on the other dowel, it moves all over the place, right? So you really want to use the true mating components to define how everything's located. So I'm going to grab that hole, I'm going to come around here, and I'm going to grab that dowel, and now it swings into place. So no need to oops. Let's see, so you tug on it. It's interesting that it says underdefined, because if I tug on it, it's not going to rotate anywhere, so not quite sure why it feels it's underdefined, but I think it's fully defined. So now we go to insert components. I'm going to grab a seat support, and this one I'm going to put over here. Again, I'm going to do a mate, coincident mate of that surface and that surface. Check. So, but I'm going to go ahead and, oops, yeah, be careful of that. Sometimes you accidentally put stuff in that box and you don't want to do it. I'm going to turn the mates off for a second, just so I can slide this guy around. So you can see it's in plane with this thing, but it needs to get on those dowels. So I'm going to move this out here, zoom in. So I'm going to turn mates back on. I'm going to turn off what's already in there. So you got to check that frequently. Sometimes, depending on the last thing you click, they put something in there and you may not want it. I'm going to go concentric. I'm going to select that surface. And then I'm going to go ahead and select that surface of the dowel. And so I'm not going to lock rotation, because if I lock rotation, that's going to be wrong, isn't it? So this is swinging back and forth like this. And if you want it lined up where it ought to be, you need to select that surface. And oops, I should have swung that thing out. I'm going to have to get out of mates just to swing this our way. Sometimes you can block your, there's ways of getting around it, but we teach that later. So again, let me try that mate again, clean that up. I'm going to grab this surface of the dowel, and now that I've swung this thing out, now I'm going to grab that surface, and now that swings back in. And again, it's saying it's underdefined, but don't know why, because, you know, if I tug on it, it's not moving. Okay, so now that I've got these in, I want to go ahead and put dowels in these little holes on the ends, because again I'm just trying to get to the point where I'm showing you how to put each of the pieces on. You can repeat the rest yourself. So again, I want to do a concentric mate from that surface to that surface. That puts that in, and again we're going to lock rotation, check, and you'll see it's going to still slide, so we aren't fully defined yet. So now I need a coincident mate between that edge and that edge, and now it's fully mated. Check, and I'm going to insert a dowel again because I need it for the other hole. I want to mate. It's going to be concentric mate. Click, click, lock rotation, check. And I'm going to pull that out of the hole because again I need direct access to all these edges if I'm going to try to line them up. So I'm going to mate, coincident, grab that edge, and I'm going to grab that edge, check, and now that's in there. Okay, so that's how we're putting it together, and finally I'm going to insert the last type of component, which is the leg. I'm going to have to zoom out and put that guy kind of close. Rotate this around. Yeah, that's pretty close. So I'm going to zoom in, and now to mate, I'm going to do a concentric of this surface with that dowel surface. And notice how it's pointing in the wrong direction. This thing needs to flip around the other way. There's these little arrows right here that indicate flip. So you click that and look at how that thing snaps around. So we can say check. We don't want to lock rotation on this one. So notice it'll go along this axis, and it'll also rotate, you know, about this pin. So I can not only do that, but get a better angle. Notice how I can grab this thing and it goes, you know, really swings around. And it's helpful to actually swing this thing around because when we do our mates, we're going to want to be able to see the faces that we want to mate. So again, now I want to do a mate, and I want it to be concentric, and again I want to grab this surface, and I want to grab that surface. And again, notice how it's flipped around the wrong way, so I'm going to have to grab that thing and flip, and now hit check, hit those two little double arrows, and now the leg is on. So this is how you do this particular assignment. I'm not going to build the rest of it because I've shown you how to put each of the parts into those respective things. So now it's just a repeat of everything that you've seen me do here. So, but this is how to do it. So I'd like you to go ahead and continue trying to do it. Now, when you do the save, this is going to be important. So let's do save as, and I'm going to want to give this a name. This is the folder that I created for those three things. So we need a folder in which this new assembly is in, as well as those 4 parts. So I'm going to call this Stool Assembly, and I'm going to save. But notice I'm going to Stool Assembly, and I'm going to include all reference components. So it's very important to click this box, and that's going to save in there. And I should get some sort of warning about upgrading to a new level. Maybe it's already done it. But anyway, I've now saved it so that when we go to this folder and I open up this SolidWorks, so here's my Stool Assembly, and here's all 4 of my parts. So what I want you guys to do when you turn this in is you're going to right click and see how it says send to. Oh, I don't have compression software on this. Oh wait, no, here. This is 7-zip. So, for me, I have to do it this way, but for you, it's going to send to a zip. So anyway, you send it to a zip, and then it becomes a zip file, and that's what you upload. So anyway, that's how you do this particular assignment. And again, you'll be doing it to complete this particular assignment. the education videos. So anyway, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to call.